Hello, everybody. As you can see, I am here today to talk about my experience with an IUD placement. Normally, when I've read about women and their experience, they start off by saying that they're sorry, that it's about to be graphic. I'm not going to say that because I figure that you have read the title. Therefore, you understand that you're about to be all up in my vagina, like for real. So, I'm not going to apologize for it being graphic. It's an IUD, it's medicine, it's women, it's our reproductive system, it's my vagina. So, not graphic, just giving you my experience. I actually did my IUD while I was on my period, and that's how my doctor wanted to do it. So, the day I started my period in an evening, the next morning I called in and they scheduled the insertion that day. Before I start, I of course just want to give this little disclaimer. I am not in the medical profession at all. I'm just giving you my experience, and everybody's experience is probably going to be a little different. But from what I read and what was posted online from women and how their experience went and their insertion went, I was preparing myself for a god awful time that day for at least a few minutes. Everybody was saying how awful the cramps were. Some women passed out from the pain. It was just a whole lot. So um, I just thought it was good to be able to tell you what my experience was. Also, if you're looking at this from the YouTube link, I go into why I chose the IUD that I did, which is Skyla, on the actual post in the blog, tashasays.com. So I go into a little bit more detail on there, why I chose Skyla, what an IUD is, and all of that good stuff. So here I'm just going to talk about my initial experience with the insertion plus the first 3 days using Skyla. So I was told to take some ibuprofen prior to going to the appointment. So my appointment was at 2:30. At 1:30, I took 1,100 milligrams of ibuprofen. I have a prescription for naproxen, so one is 550. I took two, and that if you're going to use like Advil or Motrin, of course you have to take way more to get that. But I think they usually suggest like 600 to 800 milligrams, but I took 1,100. Anyway, so I got there, the nurse did everything that she needed to do, and then the doctor came in. Um, from the point of the doctor hitting the door, asking me a few more questions, setting up, doing the insertion, answering some more questions that I had, and walking out, that took 7 minutes and 28 seconds. Sorry, 7 minutes and 25 seconds. Yes, I timed it because I wanted to be able to tell you guys exactly how long it took. It was not long at all. Again, maybe 2 minutes of that was the actual insertion process. Everything else was talking. So what happened was that I started out in the position just like you would if you are getting a pap smear, doing your well woman. Started off like that, and she used the speculum and then told the nurse that she needed a different one. I'm assuming maybe a longer one or a bigger one, whatever. And the first thing they did was to she cleaned my cervix off with betadine. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not sure. But anyway, she cleaned my cervix off with that because they want to make sure that you don't get any kind of infection from what they're about to use or anything. Actually, before she did that and she told me that she was about to, let me back up. Before she started, she told me I was going to feel some pressure. And again, that's just whatever is usually done in the pap smear. I think that's what was happening there. Then she cleaned off my cervix with the betadine, and she told me to cough. And I was like, cough? And she said, yes, cough. You're going to feel a pinch. Cough. So I coughed, and as I coughed, that's when I felt the pinch. So I think that she did that to distract me from the pinch that I was about to feel. Also, what I read later was that when you cough, your cervix moves a little bit lower, and so they can use that. What was used for the pinch was called a teneculum, I think. I'm going to put it up here, but teneculum, and it's used to move your cervix out of the way. After that, I really did plan on being able to tell you guys exactly what happened. I can't really, but I can say that I think she put some kind of numbing something on my cervix to help out. And from that point on, I don't know what she was really doing. All I know is that at the moment that it hurt to the point of me actually saying, about to say, ouch, like I opened up my mouth to say it, she said, okay, I'm done. And I looked up and I said, it's in? And she said, it's in, I'm done. And I said, okay. So literally the worst part for me was maybe 2 seconds. I mean, when I opened my mouth to say ouch is when she said, I'm done. After that, she put something in there to stop the bleeding. Whatever she pinched my cervix with, sometimes she said the bleeding can stop on its own, just from pressure, but she wanted to put, whatever that was in there. And if I had discharge that was that color, not to be alarmed, because that's what it was. So anyway, after that, she told me to just lay there, lay flat. She told me that the nurse was going to stay in there with me for a few minutes and then I could sit up. And that's what happened. The nurse stayed in there with me for a few minutes. She told me to sit up slowly. So I sat up slowly. And then she asked me if I felt dizzy, if I felt like I was going to pass out, if I was hurting, if I was about to fall over. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm not gonna do any of that. And she was like, are you sure? Because I don't want to walk out and then hear you hit the floor. So I'm thinking they must have had some pretty awful experiences, I guess. I don't know, but I was fine. I felt fine. I mean, I was aware that I just had some plastic shoved up in my uterus, but other than that, I was fine. So the next process, the next step of the process was me feeling for the strings. So feeling for the strings is important. It's something that I'm going to have to do once a month. I've seen some women do it every time before they have sex, just to make sure that the strings are there. And if you don't feel for the strings, it might have moved and you might not be protected, et cetera, et cetera. So the nurse told me to feel for the strings, and she was going to walk out if I couldn't feel them, to come out and let them know. So she left out. I opened my legs I was on the table. Then I hopped down to squat, and it wasn't happening. My vagina was like, nothing else is going in here. I'm not having it. Like, vagina trying to feel for the strings. Not happening. So I got dressed and everything but my shoes, and I walked out, and I peeked around the corner to tell the nurse, and I was like, I didn't feel them. And she was like, come out. And my doctor was there, as well as basically every other nurse in the clinic, who then stopped talking and all looked at me. And so they were like, you didn't feel the strings? I said, no. I said, actually, I can't. And they were like, you can't? I said, I can't get in there. And so they were like, you can't feel the strings? I said, I'm swollen or something. I can't get in. And the doctor was like, oh, okay. So she told me to try again later on that night, or the next day. So I went and I got dressed and I left. I was home my appointment again was at 2:30. I was home by 3:20. I got my blanket, got in the recliner, and was preparing myself for these awful, awful, awful cramps that everybody said was about to hit me. Around 4 o'clock maybe, I kind of got a little cramp. But other than that, there was nothing. I mean, I was fine. I did not take any more medicine. I was expecting for that naproxen I took before to run out, and then, or to wear off, excuse me, and then feel pain. I felt nothing. Later on that night, I did try to feel for the strings, and again, my vagina blocked everything. I also noticed something a little different. My vagina felt very different. And so then I got a mirror, and I also noticed that my vagina looked different. It seemed like some type of flesh was hanging out that was supposed to be inside. And I also did not feel that. I felt it with my fingers, but my vagina didn't. So my vagina was a little numb. I'm assuming still from what was put on earlier. And of course, I was about to freak out because I was like, is my vagina broken? Is this how it is from now on? Will nothing else be able to go in here? What is happening? And then I told myself, hey, you literally just had a whole lot going on. Like, your cervix was pinched. You had a sound, is what it's called. You had a sound go through your cervix up into your uterus. You had something plastic put into your uterus. You had a whole lot of stuff going on today. Just chill. It's fine. Come back in a few days, see what happens. You'll be okay. FYI, let me back up. My doctor, after the procedure, told me nothing in the vagina for 2 weeks. So that, from what I understand, is to prevent infection. For example, if you were to have sex with a partner who has an STD and you were to get an STD, it's going to go really bad for you. From my understanding, though, that's pretty much what this thing in there at all. But especially those first few, really the first month, I think. But those first 2 weeks, that probability is really high. I looked into what other doctors told other women. And I'm not a medical professional again, but most women were told, I think they said about a week. Most women were told a week. Other women, a few cases were told 2 weeks. I saw one where it said 4 to 6 weeks. Girl, please. Anyway, I saw a nice amount that said 2 weeks, but then the majority, what it really turned out to be was whenever you feel like you can, whenever the bleeding stops, whenever you go back to normal with everything as far as your bodily functioning down there is concerned. So a lot of women were told a nice amount of women were told 24 hours. Others were told 3 days, others a week, some 2 weeks, and then that one lonely lady who was told 4 to 6 weeks. God bless her heart. So I think it kind of varies. It seems like 2 weeks is the norm to be extra safe, but 24 hours or whenever one woman said she had sex that night after she got in. I don't know how that woman did that. She literally has a vagina that pops back, baby. I mean, whatever. Anyway, so listen to your doctor, do what you are told to do, and listen to your body most of all. Anyway, back to me not feeling my strings that night. I calmed down. So that was all day one. Everything else went fine. Day two, I was starting to, a lot of women call it spotting. I think it was just the betadine coming out that was put in. I had some of that come out. The panty liner or the pad that I had on, very little ended up on there. I just noticed it coming out on the tissue whenever I used the bathroom. Day two was fine. I was gassy. There was a lot of gas. There were a lot of trips to the bathroom, maybe 5. So that was something new, something different on day two. Day three, everything was fine. Up until noon, I got this cramp that was just like, no, I'm not dealing with this. So I took an naproxen. That calmed down until I got a cramp in a different spot that was a little bit more intense. And no, I was like, this isn't a no. So I took another naproxen, again, 1,100 milligrams. Knocked that out. I was fine. I was thinking maybe I would have to take some more later on that night. That was at noon. And again, this is day three. That was at noon. The rest of the day, the rest of the night, I was absolutely fine. Nothing else. So that was my experience for the first 3 days. Again, I think each woman is going to respond differently to this particular procedure. However, what I'm thinking happened is that women who actually reviewed the experience, who actually wrote about it and posted about it, those are the women who had awful experiences. The women who had great experiences, none of them really write about it or post about it. I'm thinking that had to be it. I think out of everything that I read, and I've been reading this for I've been looking into this for 2 months, guys. So everything that I read and looked into, I think I saw one woman who said she had a good experience. She didn't feel a whole lot of pain. And that was for me. Again, the worst of it was a second or two, and then it was over. So far, my body has responded well. Skyla does have hormones in there. So I felt a little something, as far as my breasts are concerned, that in day two, I was in a seminar and I almost cried twice for random reasons. So maybe that was a little bit of the hormones kind of messing with me. But other than that, it really has been a fine experience. I don't regret it. I would do it again. I'm going to continue to update this because from what I understand, it is like a 2 to 3 month process of your body really getting used to it for you to see. So I gave you the first 3 days, and now I'm going to update weekly as if, think about, a pill pack, week 1, 2, 3, and 4. The advantage of this thing is that it's supposed to make your periods much lighter, which please let that be me. Please let that be me. So we're gonna see. I'm expecting quite a bit of spotting this first month or two. So we'll just kind of see how it works. But again, that's my experience. I'm not a medical professional. Just want to put that out there again. I had a good experience. Based on what I've read, my experience has been flawless. So I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, I will answer them to the best of my ability. Again, if you're not watching this through the blog post, I encourage you to go read that. There's a little bit more information on there. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.